Wow. Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I hope that you're enjoying Singapore so far.
I enjoy Singapore every time I come here.
Excellent.
I learn. I mean, listen, every time I come to Singapore, I learn something new. It's amazing. Please invite me more often.
There you go. So this time you're here for a FinTech festival. How often do you find yourself on the big stage at a FinTech festival?
I used to be a chartered accountant.
Okay.
So I understand a little bit of FinTech. I'm one of those that escaped, one of those that got away. Most of you didn't. I did. I got away. But the thing about AI is that it's going to destroy silos. There's going to be no difference between FinTech or creativity or content creation, and that's the one thing that is going to change. And I surprise the people. See, one of the things that AI is going to do is going to change everything. So how do things change? We say it changed, but we always have one context. Education is going to change. Hang on. We're addicted to the word education. Don't be. That's an addiction. What does education mean anymore? So every time you look at anything and change happens as dramatically and as fast as AI is doing it, you don't have any context for change. And that's what's so very exciting about it. So FinTech is a word, it's a context. Content creation is a context, and both of them when they mix, you realize that I am also in FinTech, I'm also in content creation. I mean, FinTech funds me.
Yes, well, indeed. So something that I'm picking up here is, we give a lot of labels to things in the world, don't we? And this label, artificial intelligence, let's put it to the public, shall we? Who can confidently raise their hand and tell us, if I put you on the spot, and I won't, but just hypothetically, could you define AI in a sentence? Raise your hand if you think you can. 0 hands go up. Right. So that is indicative of something. We've discussed this before. It seems like even a flawed phrase in itself. When you think about artificial intelligence, what do you understand by it?
Well, one of the things that we need to question is that we have to question every keyword. We are addicts to keywords, and over time, keywords become the way we live. So we say, what's artificial intelligence? Without asking ourselves, what is intelligence? What is intelligence? We are arrogant. Actually, I look at my intelligence and say, look how intelligent I am, I'm a human being. But that's a very arrogant statement. I walk out into nature. Nature has far, 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 far greater intelligence than I do. So what is my intelligence? And if I can define what my intelligence is, then I can look at artificial intelligence. Now, when we look at, President Thurman was here when he so eloquently said that actually, to me, there's an intelligence of the mind, but there's also an intelligence of the heart. The intelligence that emanates from the heart, the intelligence of the heart is what we call creativity, is far, far greater than artificial intelligence. So we need to understand what we mean by intelligence before we start talking about artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that comes up again and again, and will be coming up as a theme at the FinTech Festival, is what is AI good for? I know that you've had a chance to think about this, and in some respects, I get the impression you're very excited about the possibilities. You've experimented with AI a little bit, so many in the audience who are familiar with Hindi films will recall your movie, Masoom. I have to admit, I'm the age group that hung on to Mr. India, I have to say. But I know you've experimented with the idea of a script for Masoom 2. It has been written up in the papers, but I'd like to get a bit more on what you thought of that experience, what you thought of what came out of the end of that process.
I thought it was very exciting. I asked ChatGPT, and remember, this was 2 months ago. And in 2 months, everything's changed again and again and again. 2 months ago, I said to them, I made a film called Masoom. Now remember, ChatGPT hasn't seen Masoom, but it could read everything that was ever written about Masoom, right? Give me a script for Masoom 2. I said, Masoom, the next generation. And within 3 minutes, it came up with a script that was actually very good. It was really incredible. Now, I thought, oh shit, am I redundant now? Where am I? Who am I? Who am I in the context of how AI is developing? Thankfully, I looked at it, my script was better.
Well, of course, right? Yeah, I think that deserves a round of applause because a career of wonderful scripts.
You know, as a creative person, I look at I said, okay, how do I beat AI? Everywhere is AI, AI. What is it that AI cannot do?
Yeah.
Right? When I was a kid, I used to go to the mountains, and every time I came back, my mother would say, oh my God, more stitches, more wounds, everything, what's going on? What I used to do, I used to run down the mountain. And when I picked up speed with a momentum that I knew I could not stop. And as you ran down and you could not stop, you already had to know where you're going to go, because otherwise you're going to fall, you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to die. Fear. AI can write about fear. AI can give you a script about fear. AI cannot feel fear. That's where I'm better. Let's talk about love. AI can write the most beautiful script about love. Remember there was a film called Her? About a man who fell in love with AI. It was a story. Can AI fall in love? No, it cannot.
Yeah.
AI cannot feel fear. AI cannot fall in love. AI cannot hope. Because hope actually derives from fear that I can't do it, so hope I can do it. So when I start looking at what AI cannot do, I feel very comfortable. But then, there's something so human about me. I aspire to do things. AI can only aspire with all the data it gets. I aspire with things because I can dream about things that AI cannot dream about. It can only collect a lot of data, yesterday's data, it can collect and give me. And so I see AI as an amazing tool. You know, and everybody, okay, I know there are a lot of CEOs here, I'm going to say this. When AI, and it's becoming cheap every day I see 3 more companies or 5 more companies. My question is, you have a T-boy or a T-girl that has joined your company today and has everything available as the CEO. The CEO and the T-boy has everything available. What makes a CEO? What is going to be the structure of organizations? Because all along, we've seen the structure of organizations as pyramidal. CEO and everybody else. Now that everybody else has exactly the same access to everything that AI can do. I tell you, now, here's the thing. Who's a CEO? How would you structure a company now when everybody else can do what everybody else can do? That's what I mean. And I find that very exciting. I find it very exciting because the other day I was talking to some friend of mine who was talking about GDP, and I said, keyword, what does GDP mean now? What does CEO mean now? And what does education mean? If I have all the means, anybody, and remember, 95% of the world has no access to education. Now suddenly they have access to education.
Yeah.
So there was an old lady right here working at the back. And she was cleaning. She must have been maybe just about reaching 70. I could see she had arthritis in her knees. I could see she was unhappy. And I said, well, let's tell her story. What's her home like? What's she like? And if we can give her all the opportunities in the world with AI, that you could be somebody different. You could be somebody creative. You could create something that nobody's ever thought about you because it gives you the creative tools. Now, if you look at it from the point of view of structure, of economy and everything, and say, oh my God, jobs. Question. What's a job in the context of AI?
Yes.
If she goes and does something else, maybe in the larger sphere of things, in the addictive world that we live in, that we've got addicted to keywords, suddenly one human being has found something greater. That may not be another job, because that's how we describe people. What's the job you're doing now? She becomes greater. And that's why I loved what President Haman was saying. It's not about jobs. It's about human potential. And when we look at the world, we are talking about human potential for 95% of the people that don't have it.
Yes.
Only 5% of the world has what we call the top levels.
But
Sorry, I have to stop talking. Over to you.
Not at all. So I do want to jump in there because there are some who worry that the opportunity of AI that you speak of, this idea of disrupting these paradigms and giving opportunities to those who otherwise wouldn't have had them, that opportunity is not equally distributed currently. And how do we get to a framework where it will be? So for example, the tea lady or the tea boy or the lady who was cleaning the floor or whatever it might be. How would they ever know that they can make that change? It's through education, it's through all of this, but that takes effort.
Manisha, I'm going to stop. I'm going to argue that point.
Okay,
it's
go ahead.
exactly the same thing when we said when digital first came. Oh, the world is divided between those that have digital and those that don't. Come to my nation, come to India. Everybody has digital. That digital divide that was going to divide this world, and there's going to be this amazing world divided into the digitally accessible world and the non-accessible world, how long did it take to get away? And the way I'm seeing how cheap AI is becoming, how proliferative everywhere, every day there are new worlds, I am betting that there will not be that divide. I am betting that everybody will compete, and AI will become available to everybody, as in India. There's nobody. I mean, you go on a seat, somebody will come to beg for you soon. Somebody will say, okay, here it is, and they'll bring the little smartphone out and say, here, give me some money. The vegetable vendor is digitally connected. Everything's how long before AI gets everybody digitally connected? I think AI is going to be this beautiful thing. Actually, is the most democratic thing that's going to happen to us. It's going to bother those that look at the larger figure.
Yes.
It's certainly going to bother those that are the CEOs of the company. But hey, wouldn't you like your people to be happier? Wouldn't you like your whole staff to be doing things that makes them better and even better and even better and suggest how you should do your job? When I direct a film, I'm waiting for everybody to tell me what to do. Oh my God. This is right? No, nobody agrees with me, but there it is. Yeah.
So hold that thought about being better. And I want to get back to digital connection because I believe that we have the Slido, hopefully the tech team can help me with it, and put up the Slido QR codes, because I don't get to be the only person having this conversation with Shekhar. I would like to get you all involved. So just scan the QR codes, send your questions in. I get them right here on the iPad, and I'll weave them into the conversation. And we've got plenty of time, so please think deeply about what you would like to ask him. So in the meantime, is AI going to help us be better? I feel like increasingly the conversation around artificial...
Let me stop you. What does better mean?
You tell me, what do you think better means?
That's the problem. We are addicted to keywords. To me, better means more salary. Maybe better means that you are more productive for the company that you work for. Maybe better just means being a happier human being.
Let's talk about purpose of life then.
Okay, that's it, right. Maybe we'll discover, who am I? Do you think that lady that is working 8 hours a day cleaning looks unhappy? How much time does she have to think about purpose of life? Maybe AI will find her the purpose of life. And imagine if we can find the purpose of our lives. Are we not a better society? Now, the problem is, in the context of how we have developed ourselves, in the context of how we use keywords, the question is, do happier people make a better society? Do happier people make a more productive society? We come back to this question is, so what does productivity mean? Now we've been in this situation since the Industrial Revolution. We've been forming and creating within ourselves whole systems that have defined them as top to bottom. Does top to bottom mean a better society? We talk about education. President Hammond said the same thing, right? We talk about education and intelligence. I'm saying, where does wisdom stand in all of this? Nobody's ever used the word wisdom. Why don't we say artificial wisdom? No, we can't say. Wisdom is something, and aging. Hang on. Everybody talks about aging. Wouldn't it be beautiful if 90-year-olds with the amazing wisdom are becoming incredibly productive, more productive than younger people? Why are we constantly? Because we think of younger people as labor. We think of older people, they're no longer labor. What can they contribute? We have to look after the older people. Yet, with AI, they can express something that they have developed over the years, which is wisdom. The education system in India that we've all forgotten used to be called Gurukul,
Yes.
right? Gurukul made no difference between knowledge and wisdom. If you just had knowledge, you don't have wisdom, you have nothing. If you have wisdom, you have no knowledge, you have nothing anyway. So where is wisdom in all of this?
Yeah. It's a great question, and this question over wisdom takes me closer to, again, some of the things that perhaps AI can't do, and we've talked about this. So I saw a wonderful video recently, and it was some of the most famous comedians in Hollywood around a table talking about spontaneity, how comedy just emerges when they all get together. And it was really entertaining, but what I realized about that was that's perhaps something that AI just can't do for us. In the creative industries, what sort of a relationship do you think will evolve between people such as yourself and these AI systems? Because it's becoming more and more integral as we move forward.
Well, it's going to change everything. Just as I said, if I was making Game of Thrones, by the second episode of Game of Thrones, even you go back to Game of Thrones, all of us go back because we like the characters, because we like the base conflict, right? Yeah, we'll pick it up like that. I'll give you 20 more episodes. Of course, that changes it. So I'm going to have to be more mysterious than AI. AI can't handle mystery on its own. It can only work out what people loved and what they liked was mysterious. And the same with comedy. Yeah? But as I said, creativity is not going to end with that, because ultimately creativity is about life. Life is mysterious. AI can only tell you stories that it picked up that let people love that mystery, but it cannot be mysterious. If let's say if I give AI love, okay? I fall in love, it's going to say, oh, tomorrow this is going to happen, and tomorrow this is, and the day after this is going to happen, this will happen. Where's love in that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's predictability.
It's all predictable. Unpredictability is the very nature of why we live. Right? That's it, the idea of unpredictability. Therefore, I am so happy that AI is coming. It's going to give me more tools, more ideas, more ways, and yet I can be unpredictable.
Now, Shekhar, on this subject, we're getting some great questions coming in, so
Oh
I'd
my
like
God.
to put some audience questions to you.
Don't
okay?
do this to me.
No, it's going to be fine. And I love it, actually, when you share your names, because I love to give you a call out. So, Dan Bending, thank you for sending in your question. It is, what would an over-reliance on AI lead us to forgetting how to be human, how to feel love, how to feel fear? And I get the impression you would say yes.
I just answered that question.
Yes.
I mean, how do I become over-reliant that I can't feel love? It's not love if I become over-reliant on predictability. Let's say that AI is a tool of predictability, right? Now, if it's a tool of predictability, where and ever do I fall in love with? Do you remember when we were kids, we did, she loves me, she loves me not, she loves me, she loves me not. If you had AI, it would go, she loves me, she loves me, she loves me. Where is that loves me not? That's the mystery. That's what leads to love. Right? So no, it's the over-reliance on AI is never going to overcome unpredictability.
Is there actually a risk that we develop a codependent relationship with AI?
Yes, there's the problem, that we develop a reliance. See, we are teaching AI, and in return, it's making us reliant on it. I live in London sometimes. When you go to Hyde Park, there's a master and a dog. The dog is pushing against the master. The leash is strong, and the master is pushing the dog back. I take a picture of it. Anyway, who's the master and who's the pet? Right? But that's when it becomes static. In movement, it does not happen. In a constant, the one thing that AI, everybody's scared of AI because the change is so fast that nobody's getting it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But leaning in actually to your metaphor, there's also a great deal of fear. Now, who here is fearful? I mean, be brave.
Yeah, who's
I
afraid
have
of
some level
AI?
of fear around AI. You know, great, we've got some brave people.
So I'm going to ask you, raise your hands who's afraid of AI, and then tell me why. Because in the context of your personal life, no, not in the context of the nation, not in the context of a company, not in context of an organization, not in context of a keyword, not in context of how we think we ought to live. Tell me the context. If you're afraid, if I personally, as a human being, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Actually, we had a very brave hand that went out
Yes, ma'am.
over there. Do you want to share? No? I'm putting somebody on the spot. Yes. Do you think you can project?
Sorry, I can't. Do you have a mic?
I so apologize. We didn't hear all of that. Yes. Okay. So there's a question about control. Is that right?
Concentration of few people on AI. Is the right way to phrase it?
Yeah.
So that kind of goes back to that point we were making earlier, that this is not an equally spread opportunity and not currently equitable and fair for all in terms of access. And I think I would add into that, there's a lot of fear around who controls the technology.
I completely agree, but I go back to that point. That was the same issue that came up when digital first started. Remember the great digital divide? How long did it take for us to... I mean, India should have been the worst country in the world. And yet, it's the most digitally connected country in the world, nation in the world. How did that happen? You know, and I am betting that as more and more companies come and compete in the AI space, and more ideas come into AI, then I think that, yes, of course, if it was controlled by a few, then of course there's a problem. But I'm betting that actually that lady, the sweeper that I saw, she's going to get AI and she's going to better her life and she's going to make sure, and people like her are going to make sure, because they're not afraid of change. Who are the people who are afraid of change? 90% of people in the world, you go to them, do you want to change your lives? They'll say yes. Of course they'll say yes.
But
You go to the people on top, do you want to change your life? Maybe. Sure.
But the
It's
thing,
how?
if I may jump in, so the thing about it is, it just makes people, change is great, but change can be uncomfortable, you know. And that was what I said right at the beginning, you know, people join us at the front. It's uncomfortable to get up in front of an audience and change your perspective and move.
You know
How
what
do you, as a filmmaker, how do you think that you can help people with that?
I love change, I can tell you. I think what people fear is the pace of change. If somebody who used to work in the stock market 200 years ago suddenly put them in the stock market today, they'll say it's chaos. People are afraid of chaos. Who is not afraid of chaos? I'm not. Picasso wasn't. I mean, the artist who faces a big canvas and has the first brush stroke, how do you put on that first brush stroke? Where does that come from? It's a chaotic decision. I think this world, the people that will bubble to the top are the philosophers.
Yes.
So far it's been all technical. We need Aristotle again, right? We need the philosophers back into this, because philosophers are not afraid of chaos. Artists are not afraid of chaos. Okay, I'm going to correct that. It's not that they're not afraid. They constantly are dealing with chaos all the time.
We're trying to make sense of it.
Make sense of it,
Yes.
or maybe not make sense of it. And because I can tell you what I do when I go. I am like everybody else. When I go to the set, I plan as if I'm a general of an army, because you never know on set, where's the bullet going to come from? Where is it going to come from? And then, as I get to the set, I start telling myself, you know, Shekhar, what's going to happen today? Today they're going to find out that you were conning people for 30 years. Today they're going to find out that you don't know a thing about directing. What am I trying to do? I'm panicking my mind. I'm panicking my mind to say, get off, get out of my way, mind, get out of the way, get preparation, get out of the way. Why? Because I'm saying there must be something in that moment which cannot be discovered till I get into that moment. That's how artists see the world. We're looking for the moment, and that's pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
And there's no way If AI tells me what the moment is, then I'm not going to paint. I'm not going to make a film. But AI, so I am looking for that moment, and that's chaos. And everybody, when I talk about chaos, says, oh, it's chaos. Chaos is not chaos in the way that you think. Everything is a pattern. But the patterns are changing so fast that you're not used to that change.
Yeah. Okay, another audience question. This is from Sahana. It's an interesting question. How have you seen AI impact the choice of actors and actresses chosen for films? So Sahana's talked about your choice for films. I'm not sure if you've had personal experience of that yet, but it's very clear that in the industry there are now platforms that are helping creators navigate audience trends. Now, that really worries me because we don't have all the data about all audiences, do we?
If I take a new idea, let's say if I take an idea, this is my own experience. I go to a studio and say, I want to make this film, and they say, well, why do you think this film will succeed? I say, well, because it's a really great idea, it's new, there's a love story. But we look at the data at the back, it hasn't succeeded so far. And I say, but you said to me, come up with something new. And you're judging what I come up with something new against what's already happened, and if it doesn't fit your empirical data, then you won't make it. So it's not like we haven't been doing it before, right? But now we're doing it at a pace of change, and it's backed by science. Oh, come on, you know, your ideas are backed by science. That's what AI will say to you, okay? So, yeah, it's been happening. It's just going to happen so ferociously now that I, as an artist, have to be more ferocious about my chaos. That's I find exciting. I find that very interesting. I find that provocative. And that, I mean, coming back, why am I mentioning that lady that I saw cleaning with arthritis in her knees and looking really unhappy? We're offering her the same ability to be creative and find herself that I have as a director that is accepted all over the world. That's what I love about AI.
So let me ask you this. Going back to Sahana's question, let's say you've made casting decisions for a movie, hypothetically speaking, and you get feedback from an executive somewhere who says, no, Mr. Kapur, the computer says no, but your heart tells you, no, yes, this is the right person. Then what?
What do you think Netflix is doing? I'm sorry if Netflix is here. What Netflix, if I take a story to Netflix today, they put it in the computer, and then their computer says, won't work because it's not worked. That's what they're doing already. It's artists are fighting against what we call, or science calls, empirical data constantly.
Yep.
To come up with the unpredictable, to come up with the new, to come up with all that. That's a constant challenge to the artist. That's why I say the artists are going to lead the world now. The philosophers are going to lead the world now. Yes. Okay.
So, look, we're a fintech audience. Speaking to you is looking behind the curtain of an industry that perhaps a lot of us are not often exposed to. You mentioned Netflix, and you sort of said, you know, what is Netflix?
Oh, I'm sure they'll agree that that's what they do. Yeah.
We've actually had a question, which is, how does a character or script change in the era of AI? Have you heard about, witnessed, experienced this kind of thing happening? I mean, I feel like you were alluding to it just then, but is this behind the scenes in the industry? Is this what is beginning to happen? What do you think of it?
You know what? Keyword, all right?
Yep.
A series is a keyword. If AI can pick up exactly every series, what's point and what's the challenge, what's the moral behind it, and start giving to you, maybe series will die. Maybe we'll have to find new ways to entertain. Maybe, anyway, theaters at 95% of viewership is gaming, not films, not sports, not music video, nothing. It's gaming and YouTube. Anyway, you know, it's a flux. That's what I say. We keep looking at change from here's the unmovable context, and this is the change. Saying, there's no unmovable context in AI. There is nothing that is unmovable. There is no more context. And that's what the brilliant thing about AI is. We have the potential of new life. And that's why I go back to my cleaning lady, that she is held, imprisoned by context. Suddenly she's free. Maybe she's better than I am at directing. Maybe she can create a better story than the greatest story writer in the world. That's a new world.
Let's say you have more and more new creators who show up, and increasingly they're using ChatGPT to help them write scripts. I'm not saying that the AI is writing the scripts. I'm just saying they're getting help. Is there a point at which, if we are constantly outsourcing our processing, whatever it is that drives us towards new thoughts and ideas and concepts, that we begin to degenerate at some point? There's no exercise up here.
That's true. I am anyway, as a creative person, a sum total of everything that I have experienced. What else? My life, what I've seen, everything. It's a sum total of everything that I've experienced. So I have, in a way, without calling it AI, I am a slave to my experiences. Right? So now AI is what we're experiencing. That's the problem. The issue with AI is that AI that we teach us, we will become dependent on it. So I have to accept, if that is true, then human beings by nature have inertia. If you have inertia, of course you'll do that. Of course you'll say, okay, ChatGPT, write this for me, ChatGPT, write this for me. You are training ChatGPT. In other words, then it's training you to become dependent on that, and that's why I come back to that Hyde Park. The dog's training against the master, and the master, who's the master and who's the pet? That's the danger. The danger is that we give in to inertia. We become lazy. We are lazy sometimes. That's why you need people that have the energy to just want to change everything. My cleaning lady. She wants to change everything. That's why I keep coming back to her. She's not a CEO. She's not sitting on the top. She's at a place where she says, how can I change my life?
Yeah.
They are the people that are going to come up.
Yeah. So you have mentioned a few times that we need to get the philosophers involved. We know that there was
we don't need to get philosophers involved. Philosophers will bubble to the top.
They'll bubble to the top. Okay. Well, I think, look, I studied university a long time ago, philosophy, politics, and economics. And people often asked me, why was the philosophy part of this? And I said, well, because the philosophy drives the other two. And let's go one step on from the economics. That's what brings us here to a FinTech festival, right?
I agree.
Can totally accept that idea. You have spoken to many philosophers, I'm sure, in your time. You speak to mystics. You speak to people who spend a lot of time thinking about spirituality. Do you ever discuss things like AI with them? What are you talking about with them?
I haven't got to that yet, but the fact is, faith, I didn't mention it because I didn't want to, but can AI understand what faith is? No. So if I go and talk to a mystic about it, he talked about faith. That, okay, you will find the answers in something that is faith. How do I talk to AI about faith? They won't know it. But you go to the world and you say, guys, here's a world with no faith. Will that ever happen? But it can't, because we need faith. When everything is going wrong, is hope. That's what we need, is faith. How will AI replace faith? It won't. So I know the answer of the mystics is going to say, yeah, but listen, you know what? Faith. Because there is a jump between something that is not quite logical or something that is to the unpredictable. From the logic to the unpredictable, that jump. Can I tell you a story?
Absolutely. You're a storyteller. Here you go. Here's your audience.
So here's the difference, I was in London shooting a film, and I had my cook from India come over. And on screen was the anniversary of man landing on moon. Right? And I said, his name was Suresh. I said, Suresh, come. Hey, look. Yeah, that's man landing on moon. Look at him. Isn't it interesting? And he looked at me with this very I said, what do you mean, He said, that's all visual effects. Nobody went to the moon. I said, what do you mean nobody went to the moon? He said, no, I worship the moon. How can man step foot on the moon? And I said, oh, okay, how do I win this battle? So I took Suresh to the Science Museum in London. I said, look, here's the replica of the Apollo spacecraft. Here's that. I showed him it. There was a lot of gold, a lot of the fabric, the silver and gold. And he came back really impressed. I said, so Suresh, man did land on the moon. And he said, man landed on your moon, not my moon. So, who is wrong and who is right?
Yes.
Where is faith in all that? Where is AI and all that? But that's the nature of who we are. We are mysterious. We love mystery because we live because we die. Has anybody been, can AI explain to me? It can explain the process of death. What is death? But without that, there would be no life. This contradiction, constant contradiction. I'm in love because I fear that I won't love. But then if AI says, look, I can tell you how to love constantly, then there won't be any love. There is this little gap that we have to bridge, that AI will not bridge, because if it does bridge, we as human beings won't exist. And that's why we have, that's the problem. If a few own AI, yeah. But my guess is, no, it won't happen. It won't happen like few, I've said this before, that they said that the few would own the digital divide. It didn't happen, did it? Now everybody's saying, look at Africa as the next great continent. Look at the digital way that they are coming up. Oh, I thought there was a digital divide. There isn't. Same thing. AI will not create a divide. I think that AI is the greatest tool for my cleaning lady.
Yes.
As I keep coming back to her, because she's oppressed. She's oppressed by the keywords that we use. Job, that all the keywords that we keep to keep her down there, because that's what started when the Industrial Revolution came. This is the end of the Industrial Revolution. This is the new world. It's a wonderful new world for a majority of the people, not for the 5%, for the 95%.
And it goes back to what President Thurman was saying this morning, which was basically around we all have to keep learning, and making sure that there is access for all. We are almost out of time. It has flown by.
I've said everything.
But we have one last...
May I just say one thing? Because what
one thing.
President Thurman said was absolutely right. Whatever happens, the planet has an intelligence greater than us, and he talked about the planet. And I put it this way, nature loves cockroaches as much as it loves us. And when we say, oh, we're destroying nature for ourselves. Nature, okay, you treat me like that, cockroaches treat me better.
Yes.
I keep saying that. This planet was not meant for us. Nature was not designed to keep the human beings going. We have to make sure that I'm doing a film on water. I was saying, what? Okay, water is a resource. What do you mean water is my resource? It's not. I am water's resource. It flows through me. Where did it come from? We still don't know. Right?
Yes.
So we say, oh, nature is our resource. We have to look after it. We have to manage the resource. Why do we have to manage the resource? It's not our resource.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had to say that. I know this is not the platform, but sorry.
But it's part of the philosophy that it's all one. And exactly why we have to lean into the philosophy and think about faith and think about our connection to all of these things. I'm going to leave it on a slightly different note, because we've had a rather cheeky question, which I'd like to just squeeze in, from the boss, who's sitting here in the front row.
No, you don't.
Sapnendu Mahanti, I'm going to call him out. Can AI replace the Singapore FinTech Festival?
Not as long as he's the boss.
Fantastic answer.
All right. Okay.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.